NERSA has two applications that it had to consider from Eskom. The first application is the regulatory clearing account, meaning that there are costs that Eskom has incurred in 2017-18 when it has provided electricity, and some of those costs were not covered in the previous decision of the MYPD 3. So Eskom has come to NERSA to indicate that there are some variances from what it has projected in the decision and what it has actually achieved. So we looked into that and looked at the reasonableness of those costs, and we had allowed certain portions of those costs when it comes to the regulatory clearing account. But what we did there, the major cost that was driven that huge balance was the sales revenue, the fact that Eskom did not achieve the targeted sales, and that is due to the lower demand. And on that, it was very clear that it was also due to the price increases that were quite high, and therefore the natural outcome there will be buying less than we would have purchased because of the price. And that is the major adjustment that we made. And the other adjustment that we made was the 1 billion that was paid to Eskom by McKinsey with regards to the contract that it has entered into. So that is the second adjustment that was made. So instead of giving Eskom the 21.8 billion that it has requested, NERSA approved 21.6 billion. NERSA approved 3.8 billion based on the evaluation and all the information that was before us. But also what is important in that decision is two things. One being the fact that we still there's an issue with Eskom claiming that there are fixed costs that amount to 70% and the variable cost, but it has not provided any support on that information just to show what assets contributed to the service in 2017-2018. But also we made some caveat as well in our decision with regards to the governance failures and the fact that Eskom has already admitted to those, including some illegal contracts that Eskom said that they've entered into with regards to coal procurement. And Eskom has undertaken to come back to the regulator to quantify those costs so that the regulator can make adjustments. So I think that is the key thing that needs to be taken into account, that in as much as we only approved 3.8 billion, we expect Eskom to come back and indicate. So the second decision really it's now a forward-looking, meaning that there are costs that would have been incurred by Eskom in terms of certain assets, but there are costs that Eskom will be incurring going forward. So we looked at those, and again, what we did not agree with them are cost or the assumptions that they've made with regards to the sales, which was pretty high, and it was not really close to reality if one takes into consideration the fact that in the past 5 years they did not achieve the sales targets, and also there was no sufficient justification as to that level of increase of the sales. So we have adjusted that, and also the fact that the evidence before us from the big customers that Eskom ought to have interviewed or said it has interviewed, those customers have indicated to NERSA that they cannot afford the double-digit increase, and that Eskom has never asked them what their reaction will be with regards to the double-digit increase. So those are some of the things, and it was very clear to us that the price elasticity of demand faced by Eskom, meaning that the demand for electricity from Eskom is likely to remain where it is, which is flat or even reduced if the increase is very high. The second big cost in that application as well, it is the overusage of the OCGTs, and in terms of the OCGTs, it is due also to the fact that the coal fleet in terms of its performance is deteriorating. So it appeared obviously that when Eskom revised the figures for the use of the OCGTs is trying to compensate for the poor performance requirements of the coal fleet and by using the most expensive way of generating electricity. So we have also adjusted those costs and to indicate to Eskom that it must consider alternatives that are much more efficient. Those are some of the concerns, but the last concern really is on the regulatory asset base, because there are some units that are not contributing to the service at all. So Eskom is going to remove some of those units because currently they're in the state of not being operated at all, and some of them they are put aside because they require major investment or capital investment in terms of refurbishment and buying of equipment. So some of those they're already removed, and our methodology states clearly that those that are not usable or not used, they must not be included, and consumers should not be paying for those. So some of those things, we have taken them into consideration, and we're still going to do some more work in that area. But it is not the condition here, but because it's a forward-looking, it means that we must consider the audits, right? And also to undertake our independent verification of the value of those assets.